talk about Chicago, not the cold weather, but a federal judge approving a consent decree to allow federal oversight of the Chicago Police Department. Remember, this is a police department that had numerous issues over the years when it comes to the treatment of citizens. We also, of course, remember the Laquan McDonald case, where the only reason we even know about that was when that videotape was released to the public that showed officers were lying about Laquan McDonald charging towards the officers before he was shot and killed. Jason Van Dyke, a former Chicago police officer, was sentenced to prison as a result of being convicted of second-degree murder. Now, you also recall that Jeff Sessions, when he was Attorney General, did his best to prevent this consent decree from moving forward. And actually, when he left after getting fired by Trump, he made it harder for any future consent decrees because he felt that we don't want to hurt the morale of police officers. Now, damn the citizens, damn the folks that are being abused by cops with police brutality or getting shot and killed. He doesn't care about them. He only cared about the feelings of those police officers. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, from May 2011 through June 30th of this year, the city of Chicago has paid out $418.3 million in settlements and judgments to plaintiffs who filed lawsuits and claims against the city for police brutality. Kristen Clark, the Lawyers Committee, we talked to her and she said, thankfully, this consent decree was approved.
Yeah. Today is a remarkable day because the federal court in Chicago has put in place a strong historic consent decree that will put Chicago on a path to long overdue police reform. The problem of police shootings of unarmed African Americans is a crisis in our country and one that we shouldn't turn a blind eye to. Remarkably, at the end of the Obama administration, the Justice Department released an extensive report, hundreds of pages long, that contained detailed findings about how the Chicago Police Department was broken and identified instances where they used force and engaged in discriminatory practices that harm African Americans and people of color. What did a former Attorney General Jeff Sessions do? He really shut down the Justice Department's work in Chicago and has been obstructing efforts to promote police reform in other parts of the country. And Chicago's kind of a heartwarming success story because what happened there is the former state Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, decided to take the baton and run with it. And she worked with city officials to hammer out an extensive consent decree that puts in place smart, necessary reforms that are going to stamp out all of the problems that have been riddling the Chicago Police Department. The consent decree that was approved by the court requires that they publish data on use of force on a monthly basis. It requires that they tighten their policies on when they use tasers. It requires that they document every instance where they draw a weapon and much, much more. And all of this work was done with no Justice Department in place. This is something backed by the state. It's backed by the city. And it is something that is necessary and brings relief to the people of Chicago. Every city around the country that's struggling with the police shooting crisis that we face should look to Illinois as a model, look to Chicago as a model for the kind of reform that might be possible in their respective community.
Greg, I want to go back to the importance of federal judges. This was a federal judge who approved this consent decree. This is why Republicans want to pack the federal bench, because they want right-wing judges who will not move forward with things like consent decrees.
Absolutely, Roland, and as I said, you've been making this point all along, and you framed it in terms of generations, as many as 40 years out from now. They know they can't hold the electoral math. They can't. They can count. So they're going to try to lock up the federal judiciary and run their fascism through that way. Certainly, we saw in Baltimore, just after Sessions took over as Attorney General, his attempt to slip out of that consent decree. But elections matter. I mean, you've got everybody from state's attorney who had on the other night, Marilyn Mosby, to federal judges who are not going to go along with that, who are on the bench. And in this case of Chicago, this is profound. It's major, as we just heard from our friend Kristen Clark. They can't do anything about that judge. They'd love nothing more than to switch him out. But in this instance, right is right, and we know that they will receive no support from Matthew Whitaker. They won't get any support from Bill Barr. But ultimately, once you're on that bench for that lifetime appointment, you know, in the federal judiciary, this is for all the marbles. And that's why we have to get out and vote and make sure, because they can't keep doing this. This is how they're going to try to extend their rule.
Now, see, Joseph, when I'm listening to all these people talk about, oh, I'm not going to vote unless I see this. Here's the reality. If you sue, when it comes to civil suits, when it comes to criminal cases or things along those lines, you're likely going to be filing in federal courts. If you have a federal judiciary that is filled with 38, 40, and 45-year-old right-wing, mostly white male judges, then you're going to have folks ruling against people of color, ruling against things like this, and that's why who you vote for in presidential elections matters.
It matters. It matters. It matters. You can even go back beyond that, and if you're talking about judges who are 30 and 40 and 50 years old, who are white judges on the bench for a lifetime, you have an absence of history there. You have people who don't necessarily understand what the guy from the labor unions was talking about. The fact that African Americans worked in union jobs for the federal government, that was their path out of the middle class. That's how they made it. That's how they became part of a great generation that helped and shape and build this country through union jobs. And if you have judges that don't really understand that, and who don't understand the legacy of police brutality in the United States of America, and who don't understand that these facts matter to people on the ground, that is not just theory, you really have a dearth of information and a dearth of knowledge that will come to inform these decisions. So I think voting actually absolutely matters a lot more than people think it does, because not only do you have people who you bring people to power who are willing to shut down the federal government and hurt an entire class of people, you have people willing to install judges that will turn a blind eye to police abuse, and you have people willing to install judges who actively promote voter suppression. So voting does matter. You may think it doesn't, but it does, and they're going to try to restrict your vote unless you get out and use it. So that is one of the tantamount reasons that you have to get out and exercise the franchise and let all this other stuff go, because it really does matter.
And again, I'm tired of hearing all these other people. I'm getting all these old stupid, crazy tweets and posts saying, oh, this stuff doesn't matter. And I'm going, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Look around.
Because when
look around. I mean, you got to look around and see what's happening.
Every major thing that comes out of this administration is going before a federal judge. Don't think for a second that voting does not matter, because the person who wins determines who gets appointed to the federal bench. All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. We want to talk about our partners at D-Herbs. Now, of course, I've been talking about their full body cleanse, which I did, 20-day cleanse. Did nothing but fruits and raw vegetables and nuts. Drank nothing but water. Couldn't have any fried foods, no processed foods. Couldn't even have fish. I ended up losing about 18 pounds. But it wasn't just about losing weight. It was also about cleaning out your system, removing all that toxicity that is in the body, and providing for more energy as well. Now, if you want to try their full body cleanse, remember, they got about 27 different cleanses that you can also try. So what you do is go to dherbs.com, use the promo code Roland. You can also call 1-866-4D-HERBS, 1-866-4D-HERBS. Now, also, what's been the benefit to me is that by being on this cleanse for 20 days, it also changes how you eat and also what you focus on. So by being on the cleanse, look, I couldn't eat anything but raw vegetables and fruits and nuts. And so even as I travel now So I'm thinking about smoothies or thinking about different ways to eat. And so it changes just not your body, but also how you look at what you eat and what you put in your body. And so if you want to try it as well, again, I want you to go to therbs.com, DHERBS.com. Use the promo code Roland, or you can call 1-866-4D-HERBS, 1-866-4D-HERBS. Don't forget to use the promo code Roland. And we want you to support, of course, one of the partners who is supporting Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.